Please remove any hats and stand as the choir performs the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and our rockets red gave proof through the noise that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the brave and the
Now, welcome our principal of Eaton High School, Miss Stacy Miles.
Good morning. I'd like to begin by welcoming our guests of honor, our community veterans and their families. Thank you for joining us today at our Veterans Day program. In November of 1919, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed November 11th as the first commemoration of Armistice Day, now known as Veterans Day, with the following words. To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the things from which it has freed us and because of the opportunity it has given Americans to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the councils of the nation. We are so grateful for this opportunity today to reflect and say, thank you for the service and sacrifices of our veterans and their families.
We would like to begin today's program with a musical piece from our Eaton Orchestra. During the musical selection, I will call the names of our EHS faculty who has served in our Army forces to express our gratitude and recognize them for their service. Tony Bessiner, U.S. Army. Mr. Damon Bird, U.S. Army. Mr. Michael Campos, U.S. Marines. Mr. Donnie Farr, U.S. Marines. Officer Kimberly Gentry, U.S. Marines. William Gilbert, U.S. Air Force. Mr. Greg Hale, U.S. Army. Mr. Craig Harden, U.S. Air Force. Mr. James Klein, U.S. Navy. Mr. Jeffrey Neves, Texas Air National Guard. Mr. Trey Yeager, U.S. Marines and U.S. Army. Thank you to our orchestra for the beautiful musical selection, and thank you to our veterans. Our guest speaker today is Coach Damon Bird. While he intended to serve for only 4 years, various turns of events led him to his 18-year career in the United States Army. Today, you'll hear what his time in the armed forces has taught him.
Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. These words are not often in the vocabulary of most Americans as they go about their daily lives. However, our servicemen and women reflect on these values constantly as the standards for how they approach their service to our country. And for those who didn't catch it yet, that list of values also happens to spell the acronym leadership. Today I was invited to share my experiences from my 18 years of military service and perhaps shed some light about the importance of service to country to the next generation. Those 7 terms I opened with are the Army values, but each branch of service operates in a similar manner, embracing those values. I'd obviously heard of those values prior to joining the military, but I didn't fully understand what they meant until after I raised my right hand and volunteered to support and defend our nation's way of life. I'd like to share a little about my story and how this decision to become a soldier impacted me. So in 1997, at the ripe young age of 27, after attending college for 7 years and earning 2 degrees, I came to the decision to join the Army. Why would I do that? Well, for one thing, my grandfathers both served in World War II and Korea. So I felt a sense of service as a family tradition. But I also saw the opportunities offered by the Army to, pay off the student loans I had amassed. So that was my plan. Enlist for 4 years, student loans paid off, and then back to the real world. So off I went. I enlisted and showed up to basic training as the old man in my training unit. That's also when I was introduced to the Army values and their significance. I began my career at Fort Hood, Texas as a flight operations specialist, where I was quickly promoted to sergeant and later encouraged to apply to officer candidate school. But again, my plan was just a quick 4 years. Student load debt gone and I'm done. But that's when the values of loyalty and duty rose to the top of my consciousness. I had such a positive experience up to this point in the Army, learning about leadership, learning how to be a warfighter, and learning how to be the best version of myself. and most importantly, being around leaders who taught me what those 7 values meant. I learned that loyalty to country is paramount to a desire to serve. But being loyal to fellow soldiers who may rely on you just as much as you rely on them sat even deeper within my conviction, which led me directly to duty. I felt I was called to put my efforts and talents into something bigger than myself, to do something that had the potential to impact lives in ways I didn't even understand at the time. So, off to officer candidate school I went to become a second lieutenant now. Commissioned in April of 2000, I was assigned to the Army Chemical Corps. Little did I know what was on the horizon and what would happen to our country in less than 18 months. During my first assignment as a battalion staff officer for a field artillery unit at Fort Stewart, Georgia, my unit deployed to Kosovo in a peacekeeping mission in the spring of 2001. Our mission there was scheduled to end in September of 2001. But before we returned, our world was turned upside down on September 11th of that year. Our current mission changed that day. We pursued a new enemy. That also meant we came home to scared families and to a nation who needed us more than ever to genuinely support and defend them. And this is the moment when 3 more of those Army values became extremely important to me: honor, selfless service, and personal courage. Obviously, after the events of 9/11, I had no interest in walking away from military service, even though my 4-year plan had come and gone. Instead, I was driven by the honor instilled with me to do all I could to protect my family, my fellow soldiers, and our nation. That led directly to the value of selfless service, which is the idea of putting the welfare of the nation and the needs of those under your responsibility before your own, without thought of recognition or personal gain. Now, this ideal may be difficult to grasp in this day and age, right? With so many people looking for recognition through a single viral social media post, or seeking personal gain with the least amount of effort. But without the construct of selfless service, very few men and women would be so willing to sacrifice their lives for a greater good. I mean, it's tough to tell yourself, I'm going to put myself in harm's way for the benefit of others and not expect recognition in return. But this is precisely what selfless service is, and that requires personal courage. Personal courage embodies the ability of being confident when facing adversity, reaching down deep and finding a way to approach challenges in life, no matter how difficult. For me, that stood out as 100% necessary when our unit was put on deployment orders to Kuwait in January of 2003. A platoon which I joined less than a month prior as their brand new platoon leader. And I was asked to lead a platoon of soldiers, whom I barely knew, into a situation we had little information about, beyond the speculation of why we might be headed to a country that happened to be on the southern border of Iraq, of course. So thrust into that situation, I had to lean on the training I had received and to muster a level of personal courage necessary to lead a group of young men into combat. My platoon experienced action under fire as we headed into Baghdad, including an incident where a Humvee with 4 Marines crashed. Me and my team went into action while taking indirect fire, getting them to safety, and administering life-saving first aid. 3 of those 4 Marines made it home that day. I will say that these experiences built bonds with my platoon that hold strong today. Several of my former platoon members reach out to me often, sometimes just to say hi, sometimes to ask for guidance, and sometimes to be able to talk to someone who understands what they went through and just talk out some fears and frustrations. Building those bonds, I also relied on other values, such as dealing with my platoon leaders, peers, and leaders with honor and respect and always acting with integrity. I continued my career after returning home from Iraq in 2003, promoted to captain and sent to Fort Lewis, Washington, where I was back on orders to deploy to Iraq for a second time. And then I finally had some relief from the deployments after returning home from that trip, where I was assigned to a recruiting company command in Joplin, Missouri. Well, ironically, I was there during the devastating EF5 tornado that ripped the town of Joplin apart. Now, this is a time where I learned how my military leadership and experience could be leveraged by a community. And I took to leading and assisting search and recovery operations in the aftermath of the tornado. My adherence to these values has always served me well over the course of my military career and beyond. I was eventually promoted to the rank of major and was honored to be invited with a team of advisors sent to the United Arab Emirates on a trip that started as just a mission to assist their military in establishing an advanced military training school for chemical, biological, and nuclear warfare training. But this trip involved into being invited by their parliament to advise them in establishing their national policy on weapons of mass destruction defense. Again, knowing, understanding, and applying the values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage were all integral to any success I had while serving this great nation. And I hope those of you who feel inclined to meet the call to service in our armed forces take that leap with a seriousness and a sense of loyalty and duty for our nation. Thank you for allowing me to share my story with you today. Now I'd like to thank all my fellow veterans and current active duty personnel for your service and dedication to this great nation. I salute you. Major Byrd, over and out.
Each year, English teachers at Eaton High ask their students the question, "What does Veterans Day mean to you?" Students responded with artwork, poetry, letters, essays, and even an original song. We selected the student work that we felt best exemplified the true spirit of Veterans Day. Thank you to all students who participated. We will now view the tributes from our EHS students.
Hi, my name's Gavin. I'm a junior here, and I wrote a poem for Veterans Day. Shadows sprawled out on the wall, statues grand begin to fall, smoke and fire far away, neighbors waving at the break of day. The red, the white, the mighty blue, a price to pay for the bravest few. Such sacrifice with acts of valor, protect the stripes of our American tower, shining to the outer world like a silver thread as it all unfurls. But at the base like a central nerve, our soldiers stand, all praise deserved. So we give our thanks, throw up a shout, your honor here hasn't gone without. The freedom, rights, and words I boast, hoisted above the pangs like a burdensome yoke. Your valor then is valor now, your honor then is honor now. Our colors fly, our spirits proud.
Hi, my name is Trinity Doherty, and I'm a junior here. Military service members, you salute the flag, but I and the American people, we salute you. We salute the bursts you miss, every going off kiss, every reunion surprise, every early sunrise. All the grueling PT that's helped you fight for me, all the traveling you do, God knows we miss you. Still, we're thankful for all you go through. We don't know how to repay, we would if we knew. Your courage and resilience, it says a lot about you, and that is why we're honored as we salute you.
Hi, my name is Delaney Kirchhoff, and I'm a junior here at Eaton High School. The choice to enlist into any part of the military is not one to be taken lightly. Those who didn't choose, who were called by a country in need, is not easy either. Both require determination, commitment, a strong mind and body, and above all, bravery. These men and women have seen more chaos, more heartache, more violence than most of us could even imagine. They have had to be absent from their families, from their everyday lives, so that they could make sure each and every one of us is safe. To give us the privilege of being able to lay our head down at night without any worry, a privilege that many other places in this world do not have. My papa is among these amazing protectors. James Edwin Carney, a man who never fails to make me laugh, a man who will yell to get the attention of a waiter just to compliment anything he likes, a man who has the entire Intro to Superman memorized, a man who could dance like nobody's business, whether it be his favorite dance, the waltz, or the jitterbug, or the pony. A man who raised his 2 daughters as devoted Christians. A man who loves golf, hunting, God, and his family. A man who always has a story to tell. A man who served in the Air Force and fought in Vietnam. This man is my papa. My papa was a sergeant in the Air Force from 1967 to 1971, enlisting at the age of just 19. He was posted to do Agent Orange. This was the spreading of a strong herbicide to get rid of forest cover crops of the Vietnamese and the Viet Cong troops. In his time flying, he survived 3 plane crashes. He was posted in Thailand and Vietnam, and after that was positioned in Texas. It is there that he decided to live and raise a family of his own instead of his hometown of Pennsylvania. When I think of my papa, just a couple years older than I am, out there fighting a battle that could mean life or death, my heart fills with sorrow and anger that he had to see and experience such brutal acts. Fighting a war that no American should have had to fight. My mom, his youngest daughter, shares the same thoughts. Young American men and women were sent to fight a war that was unnecessary, and many died for it. When my mom thinks of her dad in this perilous situation, you can visually see the anger on her face. This is a feeling so many men, women, and children had to face back then. And I think I can say many of us still feel that same way today. It hurts to know so many people have risked their lives and went through so much pain and heartache for this country. No matter the war, battle, control of borders, any of it, we are all eternally grateful. I know I am grateful for my papa's service. The selflessness and bravery of all who have served is truly inspiring. We thank you all for the sacrifices you've made for this country. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Hi, my name is Kayla Robinson, and I'm a junior. The bed he lays on daily isn't quite familiar yet. The lack of warmth makes him feel cold to ease our sense of fret. His family stays home praying to anyone who'll listen while he eats his breakfast of eggs and toast in a makeshift kitchen. The kids get grades of A's and B's that make him terribly proud. But how could he possibly let them know when he's not around? The fables were wrong, the poems untrue. Though we may feel safe, his worry ensues. He does not bleed white and blue. He bleeds red, just like you.
My name is Rachel Washington, and I'm a junior. Veterans Day, a celebration of those who have served, has always been a time of connection. My pops, who served in the U.S. Air Force, uses this time for reflection. Talking about his journey to San Antonio for boot camp, sending letters back to his sister with the U.S. flag stamp, being pushed around in the bathroom and sleeping in dirt, being yelled at by leaders with words that couldn't hurt. Good thing Graham was there when he got shipped away. Just hope he never goes to battle, just hope and pray. Over in Taiwan, their new life awaits. My dad will come soon, oh boy, open the gates. 4 years go by, he served his time, now back to the U.S., where he'll live out his prime. Speaking now to Pops when he is a veteran, he tells stories from the war to me and my cousin. I love to hear them, but they can be hard to tell, so I take the ones he has told and remember them well. I use this time to connect with him and those who have served, and I hope to God they know the respect they've all earned.
Salutations. My name is Sal Romero, and I am the person who created this piece. I call it In the Eyes of a Veteran. Let me start off by saying my dad, grandfather, and great-grandfather fought in the Army, and may God rest my grandfather and great-grandfather's soul. I created this piece to describe the many men and women who suffer from PTSD, methodically illustrate the boundless achievements our veterans have made, and to symbolize the whole meaning of an eye for an eye. Post-traumatic stress disorder, or better known as PTSD, has captured many souls. NBC News determined that 813,227 veterans on October 4th, 2016 have had suffered from PTSD from the missions they were put into. That is about 30% of how many people were asked about this question. Although it doesn't seem like too much, it is too much. 41%, or about 1.7 million veterans, have had mental health issues. Because of this information, I decided to draw how I felt a veteran would look, feel, and act when triggered into a flashback. One measly word can send someone with mental health issues spiraling. That is what caused this action and my desire to illustrate this. As you can see from my drawing, there is a lot of profound imagery, from the bombing of Hiroshima to the rising flag of Iwo Jima. Veterans have allowed us U.S. citizens to proceed with our daily lives. Half of us U.S. citizens hardly know what's actually happening behind closed doors. That is why I put this imagery in my drawing. Our veterans have made leaps and bounds in order to give those who aren't in power, people who have suffered before them, and for us. That is why I urge you to appreciate the little things. Because without them, we wouldn't be here where we are today. I see countless American citizens who pass veterans and don't even notice them as a hero. No thank you for your service, no gentle smile, no acknowledgement. I see the world as a variable of ever-changing currents. Without the people who sacrifice their lives for humanity and don't even get so much as a thank you is devastating. The months or years veterans have spent praying that they survive, praying that they get to see their child grow up, praying that they get to see their loved one before they succumb to the emptiness, the unbearable loneliness, or even death. Us U.S. citizens should not only thank our veterans, we should be grateful that we have the life we have left to live up to this moment. Lastly, the quote, "An eye for an eye," said by M.K. Gandhi, is a powerful quote and has been my favorite quote since I was in middle school. Now, I am not one who has an erratic love for quotes. I don't even usually like them, but this one struck me in the heart and had me thinking differently. The blinding truth behind many veterans is that there is no eye for an eye. There is only prey and predator. Veterans constantly went to battle with their predators, and they knew they were walking on death's front porch. But they still fought. They knew when they enlisted, they could be gone, but they weren't scared. They fought. Let us consider this quote one last time. An eye for an eye, my friends. Before I leave, I would like to restate why this drawing means a little something to me. Many of the unspoken veterans have suffered from mental health issues and have barely been treated. Outsiders say, "Here, take this pill, go to therapy, it'll fix you." But in the mind of a sufferer, there is no fixing. There is only coping. Secondly, our boundless accomplishments have proven there is hope. If our veteran ancestors fought for the future, our dreams, our freedom, and for our nation, there is no way to thank them enough. And finally, considering M.K. Gandhi's quote, I thank you all for listening, and I hope you at least got something out of this. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Christian Bruno. I am a junior, and I wrote this for all the veterans out there. My father fought in Afghanistan when he was in the Army. My older brother is a mechanic who worked on and fixed fighter jets from Tiger Squadron in the Air Force. Mr. Klein was part of a Navy SEAL Team 1 and served in Afghanistan for many years. All three men are examples of a veteran, which are people who have significant experience and knowledge in a particular branch of the military and or are no longer serving in the military. On November 11, 1918, Germany signs an armistice which officially ended World War I. The end of World War I helped November 11th as one of the most important national holidays because 20 years later, on May 13, 1938, Veterans Day was declared a national holiday. I can define the meaning of Veterans Day in many ways, but they are all connected to the same reason, that we all celebrate this day. We celebrate Veterans Day to honor all the veterans who served our country. We honor all the veterans who fight battles that we could never. We honor all veterans who risk their lives to protect our country, and we honor all who are currently serving, retired veterans and deceased veterans. Although we honor all of the veterans who fight to protect our country, most of us do not think about what each and every veteran has to sacrifice to help keep this country safe. Soldiers have to leave their families, friends, and their homes behind, as well as a chance to live a normal life to fight for us. Once they leave their lives behind, their families and friends think that they won't make it back and will die on the battlefield. They are also risking their lives to defend this country, which includes getting injured or shot or developing post-traumatic stress syndrome or PTSD when they return home. And even if they survive and return home, they will come back with battle scars, permanent injuries, and horrifying trauma that they will have to live with for the rest of their lives. Let's not forget that we all celebrate mainly the first four branches, the Army, Navy, Marines, and the Air Force. but most people don't even think about the last two military branches, the Coast Guard and the Space Corps. When it comes to fighting mainly in combat, we think of the first four main branches. But people don't understand the Coast Guard and the Space Corps serve our country in different ways. The responsibility of the Coast Guard is to respond to a variety of maritime duties, from maintaining safe and legal commerce to performing rescue missions in severe conditions. The Coast Guard defends America's borders and helps protect the maritime environment. The Space Corps organize, train, and equip space forces to protect our country in space and help provide space capabilities to the Joint Force. We need to remember that even if some people, like my father and Mr. Klein, fight on the battlefield, there are other people, like my brother, who help provide the equipment and technology that the soldiers need to be able to fight. So, to all the men and women who are currently fighting, fight on, because you're doing what others are afraid and scared to do, and what you're doing is the most important thing that you'll ever do. And to all the deceased men and women, soar high, for your sacrifice was not in vain.
At this time, we will recognize each branch of the military with the Armed Forces salute performed by our band. Will our veterans in the building please stand when you hear your branch?
Thank you to all of our veterans for their service to our country. Although not every veteran has seen battle, every veteran has spent time serving our country. The sacrifice that they made is what makes our country so great.